I mean, it's pretty high. You know, it's a cook. I mean, the job is already a cooker pressure. It's already incredibly difficult, and to be the first to add that on top of what a difficult job. Some people have said it's the hardest job in the White House. It's a hard job in the, whatever. People would say that to me.
Would you say that?
I would be like, yes, it is. Thank you, thank you. It is. It was really hard. It was really difficult. And you're right. When you are the first, you don't want to be the last. It is something that the Vice President Harris would say, that her mom told her about not being the last. And you do. You have to overperform. You have to outperform. You have to be better than everybody before you, because you don't want to be the last. You want people to see you doing the job and say, oh yeah, okay, that we can see someone else who looks like you to be in that job. And so there is a lot of pressure. And I represent many communities, so you don't want to disappoint those communities. And I don't want to disappoint the president. I didn't want to do that. And so it is incredibly it's very much a lot of pressure. And you just have to learn how to maneuver and manage through that and still show up, not just for everyone else, but for yourself.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about Karine Jean-Pierre. Somebody that I did not think I would be talking about ever again, right? Considering how she was one of the worst press secretaries in the history of this country, in the Biden administration, they're out of office, right? You would think that somebody like her would just go into hiding to never show her face ever again. But hey, according to Karine Jean-Pierre, we should cut her some slack, okay? Cut her some slack, because the press secretary job is one of the hardest jobs in the White House, okay? And it is much harder on somebody like her because she represents so many communities. There's so much pressure, okay? Because she's black, okay? She allegedly has a vagina, and she also likes vaginas as well too, right? Apparently that is what made the job so difficult, okay? So much pressure because she didn't want to be the last with all of these infinity stones of wokeness, okay? However, unfortunately for Karine Jean-Pierre, I have to break some news to her. She completely and totally failed. She is an example of what I talk about when I say that the whole DEI stuff is not good for black people, because when you're putting incompetent people in charge because of their skin color, in which, again, Karine Jean-Pierre undoubtedly is the worst press secretary ever, that hurts black people, okay? Because people are going to see the Brandon Johnsons of the world, the Karen Bassett's of the world, the Karine Jean-Pierre's of the world, the Kamala Harris's of the world. They're going to say, damn, all these black people in positions of power, and they all seem incompetent, right? And again, the reason why is not because black people are incompetent. It's because these people weren't qualified in the first place, okay? They weren't qualified in the first place, and they were chosen solely because of their infinity stones of wokeness, their identity, okay, rather than their ability. So I hate to break it to cringe, but she completely and totally failed. Okay, she probably is the biggest setback to any future black person that is looking to become the press secretary of the White House, okay? She definitely did not do any good to those individuals or anybody that, likes to sleep with the same sex or, a woman or whatever, right? So, hey, it is what it is. Karine here actually did say something that I think is worth us really sitting down and talking about, because she was coping over the fact that the Democrats turned against Joe Biden, right? She was shocked. Okay, the Democrats decided after the debate in which Joe Biden undeniably proved to the world that he is not cognitively fit for office. She is shocked that Democrats, the elites, decided to stage a coup against Joe Biden. Now, again, remember, Karine Jean-Pierre, she was a part of the Biden administration, so essentially it was a coup against her as well, too.
Personally, I think what was the toughest thing to see in the 3 weeks was there was a disconnect for me, what was happening with leadership in the Democratic Party and how it was truly, as my former colleague, communications director Ben LeBolt said, it was a firing squad. And I had never seen anything like it before. I'd never seen a party do that in the way that they did. And it was hurtful and sad to see that happening. A firing squad around a person who I believe was a true patriot, a person who I believe did everything that he can for this country, a person who I believe, as I mentioned before, has done more in his in one term than most presidents had done in 2 terms, historical things. And I was shocked by what I was seeing.
And Karine, just to clarify, these are other Democrats and Democratic leadership coming out against Biden.
Yep, I had never seen anything like that. That was, if you're asking me, the thing that I saw in those 3 weeks, that was shocking. Shocking. And instead of coming together to really be unified and trying to figure out how do we save our democracy, how do we fight back, that's what I was seeing. And, you know, that's what we decided to do for 3 weeks. And, you know, it was truly, truly unfortunate. And I think it hurt us more than I think folks realized to have done that.
And I know we're coming, and thank you so much for your question.
Thank you so much for your question.
I know we're coming up on.
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that, okay? Karine Jean-Pierre clearly is salty, right? She is hurt by the fact that Democrats staged a coup against Joe Biden, right? She found out the hard way that Democrats don't actually really believe in, quote unquote, protecting democracy. In fact, they don't believe in democracy at all, okay? If they say that the sitting president of the United States can't run again, then he can't run again, okay? The oligarchs of the Democrat Party decided, okay? And what I find to be fascinating about what Karine Jean-Pierre is saying here is that she's essentially indicating that, hey, you know what? I'm shocked that the Democrats would not participate in the lies and the cover-up that our administration participated in for the last 3 or 4 years, okay? I'm surprised and shocked the Democrats finally came out and they stopped lying about Biden's mental condition, because we all know that Karine Jean-Pierre spent a whole lot of time lying about Joe Biden's mental condition. In fact, she was the one that was pushing the whole, well, these are cheat fakes thing when people were questioning Joe Biden's mental abilities. Take a look.
There seems to be a sort of rash of videos that have been edited to make the president appear especially frail or mentally confused. I'm wondering if the White House is especially worried about the fact that this appears to be a pattern that we're seeing more often.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. And I'll quote the Washington Post, where they wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post. Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attacked the president for thanking troops. For thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. And instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes. These manipulated videos. And it is, again, done in bad faith.
But hey, it wasn't just Karine Jean-Pierre that was participating in the cover-up of Joe Biden's mental decline. It was also the media as well, too. Okay, and now the media, people like Jake Tapper, they're trying to come out here and pretend as if, well, I wasn't a part of that. I wasn't a part of covering up Joe Biden's mental decline, because he's releasing a new book, aka grifting, off of this idea that, hey, the Democrats and the White House, there was a big cover-up. And I was the journalist that actually told the truth, except that's not really the case at all.
And we've challenged Democrats and White House officials about it. But Alex Thompson of Axios and I have spent the last several months talking to more than 200 insiders and officials and donors and activists, more willing to talk post-election, of course, to explain the last couple of years in politics and how we as a nation got here with never before heard stories from behind the scenes. You will not believe what was really going on. You can pre-order the book at originalsinbook.com. originalsinbook.com. gforemanbcp.com.
Flashback.
Kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
Is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have
no.
I can't. This is so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline. President Biden embraces his stutter, talking about it, while Trump mocks it, exaggerates it, belittles it. He's sharp physically. I mean, mentally.
Yeah.
I think the question is physically, right?
Right.
More so?
Right.
Right. And the guy who's his chief opponent is only 3 or 4 years younger than him.
Exactly.
I mean, you have questioned President Biden's age, mental fitness, ability to lead. Of those supporting Biden, you said, quote, shame on all of you pretending everything is okay. You're leading us and him into a disaster. Do you worry that you damaged him at all? I don't doubt that you got hugs and handshakes behind closed doors today, and maybe even publicly, some of them because they like you personally. But I've heard a lot of really nasty stuff about you from your Democratic colleagues. Sure. I mean, just like, what is he thinking? Exercise in narcissism. I mean, false claims to the Wall Street Journal about President Biden's mental fitness and acuity. He's 81, and his memory, it doesn't seem great. It's not horrible, but I don't understand the outrage. Quote, behind closed doors, Biden shows signs of slipping, unquote. The Wall Street Journal is owned by News Corp, which is run by the Murdochs. Beyond the headline, there is some critical nuance here. The article is mostly based on observations of Republicans, with former Speaker Kevin McCarthy the only one going on the record. They do note in the article that most of the criticism comes from Republicans. Have you heard any concerns from anyone who has met with President Biden about him seeming a little slower?
No.
The Russians are trying to make us and the public not trust our election integrity. Joe Biden has dementia, all this stuff.
Dana, you're a very respected journalist. Jake, not so much respected, but people listen to you still. Would any of you guys like to respond to Joe Biden's cognitive decline and why you guys lied to the American people about it for so long? Can you please take your hands off of it? So there you guys go. That's the media. They refuse to answer the questions of the American people.
Boy, you can't make this up. You really can't. 2025, the best timeline ever. Okay, we have a propagandist in the media, Jake Tapper, writing a book about how the Democrats covered up Joe Biden's mental decline while at the same time also playing an integral role in covering up Joe Biden's decline, right? I mean, this guy participated in it, right? He participated in what he claims that he is uncovering now. Again, you can't make this stuff up. These people have no shame whatsoever. Okay, this is actually a grift, right? This is a real grift right here. Okay, imagine participating in the cover-up, right? Basically saying, hey, anybody that says that Joe Biden is mentally declining, you're a conspiracy theorist, right? You're right wing, okay? And then coming out after everything is said and done, the so-called conspiracy theories were true, right? Turned out to be facts, okay? Like they always are, right? They always turn out to be facts. And then said, well, it was the Democrats, right? They tried to cover it up. And I'm exposing it now, right? I'm exposing the cover-up. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. So, hey, everybody's coming out the woodwork now. The people that work for the Biden White House, and basically, giving their piece, right? Saying that, hey, everybody kind of knew.
Original Sin. It's by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson. And the book premise is that it's an unsparing look at Biden's, quote, decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again that led to a campaign of, quote, gaslighting and denial. Because you work so closely with the family and Jill Biden, do you think this is an accurate representation of what happened in 2024?
Cover-up, to me, is a little hard, a little harsh. Every politician, everybody, every human being tries to cover up age. We were always, from day one, cognizant that age was an issue.
Would you say it was self-interest?
There are some things that are true. I mean, like the gaslighting. There was a lot of denial of the polling. And I will use the term gaslight because that's what they were doing. The campaign, former colleagues, the message to everybody was to make sure that you tell people it's too early. It's too early. These polls don't mean anything. Well, it became too early, and these polls don't mean anything for about a year and a half. The numbers never moved.
Right.
And but by denying the data that was out there publicly, by denying the really insightful journalism that, they were actually demeaning a lot of the people, but it was the data denial that really bothered me, because we loved polling when we were running,
Right.
because we were always ahead. All of a sudden, because they're always behind, the polls are meaningless, and we're attacking the New York Times. They did do a lot of gaslighting of people, and I think if you were watching MSNBC, you probably believed them, and were probably pretty shocked. But if you were consuming information, consuming data, and looking at it objectively, and trying to interpret it and process it objectively, then none of it was surprising.
Okay, can I just ask you bluntly?
Sorry. I'm not trying to
Were
flash
you concerned about him running for re-election in 2024?
Yes, and I'll say this. When I got to the White House on day one, it became pretty clear to me. I think I went in, first of all, I was just happy to be there, excited. I used to drive my boss home every night, my chief of staff, because we lived in the same building. And I remember him saying something about, oh, well, that's after the re-elect. That's a second term thing. I said, wait, what? Because I think
you believed the bridge.
I think, well, it wasn't that I believed the bridge. It was just that I just assumed, kind of like Barack Obama probably assumed he was picking Biden, knowing thinking he wasn't going to run again. I kind of thought, in 2020, 2021, that this was going to be like, okay, we're going to pass the torch to another generation of Democrats and let them handle a Trump 2.0 campaign. But I was brought to reality pretty fast. Like,
but why not?
Why wouldn't he run?
Yeah, why not?
It was, why wouldn't he?
Yeah, so what you have here are individuals who are basically trying to save themselves and their reputations, right? That is what's happening, because, anybody that was a part of the cover-up, okay, including the mainstream liberal media and the Democrats, they were colluding. They've lost credibility. And that's one of the main reasons why the American people simply don't trust the Democrat Party and the liberal media anymore, right? The cover-up of Joe Biden's mental decline is probably one of the most devastating things to ever happen to the Democrats and the liberal media when it comes to their credibility. So now they're trying to save their credibility and say, well, hey, Jake Tapper, I didn't know, right? They covered up. But it's like, no, you were a part of it, right? People that worked in the White House. Well, I kind of knew from day one, right? Well, if you knew from day one, why didn't you say anything about it? Why didn't you sound the alarm on the fact that, hey, the president of the United States is cognitively declining, like he can't actually serve, right? Everybody who knew about it, which they all knew about it, all of them should be held accountable. But I guess you can argue they are being held accountable in the sense that, again, nobody watches CNN, right? I'm surprised that Jake Tapper still got a job. Wouldn't be surprised if eventually CNN decides to let him go, okay? You also have the Democrats losing the election. So I guess you can say they were held accountable by the people. But at the same time, this attempt to try to gain back credibility, no, I'm not buying it. You knew about it. You covered it up. You participated in it. And I don't care how many books you write, how many interviews you do after the fact. Everybody knows that you lied. You lied about something very important. And not only did you lie about this, but you've been lying about other stuff as well, too. Right? You've been lying for the last 4 years. And then they want to come out and act like truth tellers. Right? I'm a truth teller. Right? I'm not like those other people. And it's like, no. All of you are corrupt. And you deserve exactly what you're getting right now, which is the fact that American people do not trust you at all. And, basically you've just ruined your reputation amongst the people. Because, again, you clearly are willing to basically cover up anything in order to maintain power and control, including the fact that the president was mentally declining, that he was not mentally fit for office, okay? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.